Hello everyone and welcome to the Lady Stairs Knits podcast, episode 4. I'm coming to you from Philadelphia. My name's Sarah and I'm really excited to be filming another update. I feel like it's been quite a long time and I have a lot to show you. So let's get started. I think first I'll talk about what I'm wearing, which is the Arboreal sweater designed by Steingass. I made this in 2019. I began it in the summer and I finished it in September. And I love this jumper. It's one of my most worn, most loved things that I've ever knitted. And it's been about 2.5 years. It's gotten a lot of wear and it's holding up really well. I made it in round felted tweed in the color Celadon, and I'm not sure what the darker green is, but it's also round felted tweed. I made quite a few modifications to the shape. I didn't do any sleeve decreases, and then I decreased suddenly at the end, so I got this blousey sleeve, and I cropped it and increased the decrease rate so it comes more in at the waist. And I did that because I have quite a large bust to waist difference, and I wanted it to be cropped and also be a little bit more fitted. And it is just that. It fits perfectly and I love it. At first I was worried that the contrast wouldn't be high enough and that the design would be muddied, but it is perfect. I think it's just great. So yeah, I would highly recommend this pattern if you like the look of it. I also made my cat's wrestling. I made a second one for my grandmother who saw this one and loved it so much that she asked me to make her one, which was really quite an honor because she is a prolific knitter. We have a huge family. She's made everybody everything, and so I felt it was quite a compliment to be asked by her to make something. So I did it in, she wanted black and red, black for the background and red for the leaves, but I didn't really want to knit black, so I got quite a dark gray and red. I'll put a picture in of that jumper too, and I haven't seen her since I made that because that was in 2020. The last time I saw her was when she asked me to make her one, which was in 2019, and I haven't seen her since then because it hasn't been safe to get over to England to visit her. But sometimes we video chat and we both wear matching jumpers and she loves it. And yeah, I hope that I can see her soon, and that's a little bit about this jumper. If you can hear a purring in the background, that's my cat. He's quite happily kneading on a blanket. I have a finished object this week, but I can't show it, which I know is annoying. It's a test knit that I'm doing, and it was an oversized turtleneck in DK weight wool, and I think that's about all I can really say. I'll show it as soon as I'm allowed to. That was my second ever test knit, and I don't know how much I like test knitting, but it was an interesting experience, so hopefully I can show that to you soon. I don't know when I'll be able to, but that is complete, which is really exciting. Other than that, I have 4 knitting projects that I've put some work into over the past 2.5 weeks. So I have my book, which my dad got me, with my notes in it if you see me looking down. The first work in progress that I will show you is my Borough cardigan. This is a design by Fabel Knitwear, who makes a lot of historically inspired garment designs. This is just one of her cardigans. I don't think it's historic. It's called the Borough Cardigan, and I am making it in a blue. So here's the body. And this is where I was up to the last time I showed it to you. So I added a good 2 inches onto the body. I am using Nutidin and 2 strands of mohair. So the Nutidin is an unspun, very minimally processed and dyed without strong chemicals. I guess essentially like a pencil roving, is that what you would call it? It's unspun, and this is the color Val. It's a really beautiful blue mixed with a gray. It comes in plates, but I've wound it into a ball to work off of. Since winding this ball, I have learned that it's better to wind it into smaller balls because the weight of this ball is enough to pull apart the strand of unspun fiber. So I think once I finish this, I won't roll into another ball that's quite as big. I'm using 2 strands of blue mohair, and those are from Knitting for Olive. I got a cone of that blue, I think it's called medium blue, that I got that in their cone sale, which was in the middle of 2020. I think that they were having some issues with their production when it came to winding the balls, so they were selling cones for a discount, and I got one. I was really excited. I think it came with 1,800 meters, with I think a pretty significant discount as well. So I'm glad that I bought that. And I've been working on a sleeve because now the body is finished. Oh, I'm modifying the pattern so that it has a steek, which I've never done before, but I think it's going well. And here is my sleeve so far. I'm using 4.5 millimeter needles, although this sleeve feels much denser. Uh-oh. I just don't know why the sleeve feels so much denser than the body. But it does. Okay. Well, we'll figure that out, I guess. I don't know why it feels so different. You might be seeing a theme, but it's only for these 2 garments. I'm modifying it to have a more blousey sleeve, and to do that, it said to increase the stitches, but I added an extra 15 stitches to increase by, and then when it gets to about the elbow, I think I'll decrease down so it's more closely fitting in the upper arm. Not tight, but not so big. And I chose to increase with yarn overs, so you get like the little holes. I just think that that looks nice. I'm intending on wearing it, making it longer so that it sort of folds over itself at the end like this. And I think that having essentially perforations in the fabric with the yarn overs will encourage it to fold over in the places that I want it to. So this has been knitting up really fast. I actually did this in 2 days. So I'm really enjoying knitting on this, and I'm really excited to have the end garment. I don't know if I've made anything blue other than a tank top, and I think I really like it. My next work in progress is not very exciting to show you. However, it has appeared in every single episode that I have filmed so far, and it is the ill-fated orange Musselburgh hat. So here is, you might think, that looks exactly the same as last time, and it pretty much is, but I had to unravel it because it was gonna be too big. I put it onto like a cord to try it on, and it was enormous, comically large. So I unraveled it back to just past the last 3 increases for the crown, and omitted those increases, and I've been knitting straight since then. I put a safety pin every day that I work on it, so you can see about how much I can get done in a day on this. And I've just finished knitting up the yarn of what was unraveled. So, and it's measuring to be about half the length that the pattern calls for. So, for some reason this is a very long-term project for me, but I'm pretty determined to get it finished. I really like the textured orange, how bright it is and how it's a little bit grungy. I think if this fell into the street, got a bit dirty, you wouldn't be able to tell, and I'll be honest, it's nice to have a garment like that. Not a garment. It's nice to have a hat like that, because things, you know, accidents happen. Coffee gets spilled, and it's like pre-distressed, pre-stained. I don't know. I love this yarn, and I'm using 4mm needles for this. Okay, my next work in progress is a sock. It's in this sock cube that I got from Nomad Fibers, or Nomad Dyers. She does self-striping sock yarns, which are amazing. I purchased one that I haven't knitted up yet, but she also sells these sock cubes, and this one has cats on it. It's really cute. Okay, so here's the sock so far. I've just finished the heel flap. I wonder if you can hear my boyfriend in his meeting. Hope not. So, let me tell you a bit about this sock. It's the Dear Bjorn sock from the 52 Weeks of Socks book by Lina. And its most notable motif is this diagonal slip stitch cable pattern element. And since, not to give too much of the pattern away, but it incorporates a slip stitch every other row. And since it does that, I thought that this would be a very interesting pattern to try doing 1-row stripes on, because one of the colors would always be slipped for some of the stitches, and I was right, and it's really cool. Yeah, obviously, maybe it's not obvious and I'm being hard on myself, but I need to work on my toe-up sock technique. It's really lumpy, but I'm not a magic loop user, and until yesterday I didn't even have the tools to do magic loop properly. So now that I have the tools, I can practice this, I think, Judy's magic cast on, and really, you know, nail the toe technique, because I think that toe-up socks are a pretty useful formula to be able to do, but it won't be useful for me if all of my toes end up looking like this. These are for my dad. He won't mind. I'm really excited. I love the way they're turning out. And the sole is really cool too, because the background color is self-striping. I've made this pattern before in a peachy color, And one thing that I noticed when I made the pattern was that the diagonal stitches negate, I would say, 90% of the stretch that you would get from a normal knitted fabric, especially in the leg portion where the diagonal stitches aren't just on half of it, where it goes all the way around. My pair, it's hard to get them over my heel. So I decided to incorporate a little channel of ribbing on either side of the foot, just a purl, a twisted knit, a purl, continuing up from the top of the gusset so that it would give it some more stretch, because it's sort of like a binding effect with the stitches that are going in two different directions. I also made a larger size, and if you're making this pattern, I would recommend sizing up because it's really hard to get on your foot. I wanted to do a toe-up sock because this is now the third pair of socks that I'm making from these two balls of wool, and I didn't want to knit one and then run out. So at this stage, I think I'm going to start the other sock, and then I will get to this point, and then I'll knit the leg simultaneously so that it's the same length. I do have another ball of this, so if it happens to be quite short when I run out of the vintage tinsel colorway, I can just do quite a long ribbed section for the cuff at the top. But I really like it. I think it's fun, and I think that my dad is going to love it. They're going to be like house socks, I think. And then the three of us will have matching socks in these two colors. So that is my second work in progress. My third work in progress is the Ellsworth Shawl, or you might want to call it scarf. I have made quite a bit of progress on this in the past few weeks. So this yellow safety pin is where I was when I stopped. So I've added, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 sections onto it. This is inspired by the art, some of the art of Ellsworth Kelly, who's an artist, and it's a pattern for a scarf or a shawl. So you make the middle one, and then you can make 2 more, and there are patterns that for other scarves, and you can sew them all together if you want to make a shawl. So once I get to the end of this one, what I'll probably do is wash it, wear it as a scarf, and then if I can muster the chutzpah to knit the other 2, I'll do that. But it's even though it looks like it's in garter, it actually takes a kind of a huge amount of concentration because the wedges are very specific, and if you get it wrong, it's a pretty big problem. And I would consider myself to be quite good at reading my knitting, but I don't find that I'm able to do that with the short rows on this. And I was doing the short rows wrong for the first few sections, which is why it's a bit wiggly. But now I'm doing the short rows correctly. I was just using the wrong type of short row, and I didn't realize that it would take away a stitch every time. So I've done 16 segments, and the scarf has 23. So that's not that close to being done. Each segment takes me a few hours. This started as a buddy knit with one of my friends, and I'm hoping to get back to doing it as a buddy knit with her and not really working on it on my own. I do really like this. I think that the black and white, even though it's sort of boring to knit with in the moment, I think that it'll be really useful scarf and quite striking. And it's in whole super soft, so I think that it's really going to fill out and be a bit less gappy, and it will be more soft. So that is my Ellsworth shawl. Let's see if there's any more. Okay, that is all of my works in progress. I have a new section this week, which is spinning. I learned how to spin this week. I had originally, a few months ago, purchased a drop spindle and a fiber sample kit with 5 different fibers because I was about to undergo a medical procedure, which I thought might mean that I wasn't able to knit for a while, so I wanted to have a backup craft during that time in case that happened, because I didn't want to be unwell and also not be able to craft. So I bought a drop spindle and some fiber. The drop spindle I got from an Etsy store called Scott's Mountain Crafts, and it was like $15, and the fiber assortment came with 5 different fibers, and it was about $18, and it's from Haw River Craft Supply. It's combed top, I think. The 5 different fibers are Polworth, American Rambouillet, BFL, Merino, and Falkland. I've got some beets boiling, so if you can hear any beet noises, that's what that is. So, this is the first little skein that I ever made, that I ever spun. I added a little tag on it. This is the Polworth, and here it is. It is, well, it's the first time I've ever spun, so I would say I don't think it's very good, but I think it's actually not that bad. There are some really fluffy sections in it, like here, and then there are some pretty tight sections, and I had a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting to enjoy spinning really at all. To be honest, I've always found hand-spun colorful bats and the really lumpy yarns, it's just really not to my fiber preferences, and I didn't really get it. But after having spent a couple hours with the drop spindle, I get it now. I'm not sure what I'll use this for, but I really like it. I ended up doing a chain ply because I wanted to ply the yarn and I didn't want to wind onto 2 things. And I don't like center pull balls. I was pulled from the outside, so I just did a chain ply and it worked fine. It worked so fine, in fact, that the very next day I span up the second fiber. Each of them are an ounce, by the way. And this morning I chain plied it. The first one was Polworth and this is Rambouillet. And here it is on my spindle. I think it has a sort of ropey quality, which I'm sure is my fault. I actually don't mind it. I think that the twist is really beautiful. Especially look at this. That's neat, right? I just think that that's cool. And I think it's a bit more even than the first one. So yeah, once I finish the 5 that I have, I'm not sure how quickly I will be to buy more fiber. I'm enjoying it. It's not like, I guess I'm still figuring out how much I like doing it. And I'm sure that there's so much to learn, but I'm not quite sure that I am ready to embark on learning a new hobby. So we'll see. But I am enjoying myself, and for a fairly minimal financial investment, like 15 for the spindle, 18 for the fiber, I've really enjoyed getting to do a new craft and learning about the different breeds of sheep and the qualities of the fibers that they grow in a way that I definitely wouldn't have been able to understand just with knitting. So it's a lot of fun. I have 3 left, and I'll probably spin those up over the next couple weeks. I'll update you with what I choose to do with this yarn next time. Okay, I'm going to tell you about some acquisitions. I bought yarn twice in the past 2.5 weeks. The first one, I think I actually had spoken about in my last episode, but it hadn't arrived yet, and that is my Knitted in order from their January collection. I got the color Skostra, which is a dark green, and I will show it to you now. Here it is. I hope that you can see. It's like a beautiful green with gray in it, and some yellow and white as well. I wanted to get 500 grams of it. They sell it in quantities of 100, 300, or 500. 500 being the amount that they would recommend for a double ply sweater. But they didn't have any 500 gram bags left when I went, so I got 2 300 grams, which is good enough for me. And it's stunning. I'm so excited to work with it. It looks a bit thicker than the Val color, so I hope that that means it will be a bit easier to work with. Either way, I have enough of it to do a 2-stranded garment, and I'm really excited. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to make with it yet. Along with this, they sent me a little goodie of another color, which I think is the color Vasen. I'm not totally sure. It has some pink in it. And here it is. I'm not really somebody who would consider themselves to have a good eye for neutrals. I watch the videos, and I know that there are differences between the browns and the grays, but for me personally, is there going to be a big difference for me using this than using another off-white? I'm not sure. I'm more sort of in the bright, dark color love sphere than I am in the neutral, sophisticated appreciation sphere. But I'm really happy to have a little sample of this because I would never have bought this. And I could use it for color work or whatever. There's a world of possibilities. So that is cool. The other acquisitions that I have made, the other things I have acquired, are related to a project that I've been planning for a while that I should swatch for in my last episode. That project is the Roosty tank top. The swatch that I'll show again. It's this swatch. And I felt, after making this swatch, carrying it around, looking at it, that this lighter orange color is too dark. I think that it kind of interrupts the shape, the general shape of the pattern, and I wanted it to be closer in like light dark value to the lightest greeny blue here. So I began my hunt for a light orange, which is kind of hard to find. It turns out that light orange is peach, but I look at a peach and I think it looks pink. I purchased these two from Jamieson and Smith. The original is paprika. I'll show you it in the ball. This is the original that I use in the swatch in the ball. And here are the two that I purchased from Jamieson and Smith. It's shade 90. And here they are next to each other. I think that this is close to the color that I want, but I'm a little bit unsure if the sort of stark flatness of this color is going to go well with the dyed-in-the-wool nature of most of the other colors that I'm using in this pattern. I also got this Ul Centrum skein. It's like a light orange peach possibility. And I kind of have the same feeling about this. I'm just not sure. I think I need to make more swatches. I don't want this to pull pink or yellow. I like it red and orange. So I guess I just need to swatch. I should have bought an extra ball of each of the colors because I'm going to end up using quite a lot of yarn on these swatches. Another idea I had to switch this was actually something I already owned, and it's the Biche Bouche Le Petit Lamb's wool in soft orange brown, which is not quite as flat as the other two colors that I bought because it has some, I think, a bit of yellow and just a hint of green. So that could be an option. It's just kind of hard to know. It takes a couple hours to knit a swatch, so I don't really want to make 3 more swatches, but I will if I need to. So these are all, it's food for thought. Those are my acquisitions. And lastly, I am going to talk about my plans for the next 2 weeks. So, out of my 6 works in progress, I would like to work on my orange Musselburgh hat, ideally finish it. I just want this to be done so I can wear it. So that's one of my goals. I'd really like to finish the first sock, or if I'm sort of doing them 2 at a time, just get very close to finishing both of these socks in the next 2 weeks. I'd like to keep working on my blue cardigan, and maybe put some rows into one of the 2 shawls that I'm currently making. I also have some hopes and dreams about a new pattern that's been released. It's in the Pom Pom Quarterly the Dream themed summer magazine, and it is called the Oniero by Hannah Luber, is what I have written down. And it is a cardigan which is, I think, brioche and has a cable with baubles up the sleeve, and it is in 3 strands of mohair held together. And in the sample, it has this gorgeous fade, and I happen to have a mohair sweater quantity in a fade that would be perfect for this pattern. Flame inspired. And I have an idea of having a little bit of this at the end, although I really don't want it to pull rainbow. I'd rather keep it sort of candle-y. I have one of each of these three and 4 of this and 2 of these, which are almost a match for the darkest orange. These 3 are all Tussock by Pearl Soho. All of these colors are discontinued, which is a real shame because they're gorgeous, and I don't think they have any yellow or oranges anymore. So I'm really excited for that to come out. I want to swatch for it and see how I really feel. 3 strands of mohair held together. I can only imagine how nice of a fabric that would be. I know that I have enough, but I'm not sure I have enough to make a convincing fade, so I might supplement this with like a yellow, because I only have 300 meters of each of these colors, and it's held triple. So I might do that, but I'm going to hold off buying anything till the pattern is out. So that's one really exciting thing that I would love to swatch for and maybe cast on. And the other thing is also cardigan, and it's based around this amazing yarn that I have from Anfield Farm, which is yarn made by a friend of mine, and I have a sweater quantity of this DK weight wool, and I've been looking for like a cabled, really like a cardigan with a lot of heft, and I think that Botanist Garden by Thea Coleman would be perfect. So that's another thing that I'm sort of itching to cast on. I really want to whittle down the number of works in progress I have, but I don't want to be too aesthetic, and I think sometimes it's just fun to ride the wave of inspiration, so I might end up casting one of those on and you'll see it next time. I really appreciate you sticking around. If you've watched to the end of this episode, I hope that the sound is a little better than last time. I know it was quite quiet last time, and I feel like I've had a lot of really good, cool stuff to show you. So I need to get to cleaning all of this up, and I hope that you have a really good week, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.